Gaming notebooks have skyrocketed in both price and performance this year as we ushered in the age of the 13th gen 40 series devices. The good side of this, if you have the money to spend on these high-priced notebooks, is that you're going to get some real bang for your buck. The bad side, most 40 series GPU notebooks are just crazily expensive. This MSI rated GE78 HX13V, for example, will set you back over 100,000 Rand. But of course, if you're looking for a notebook like this, you know what it costs and you're ready to spend it. Thankfully, this MSI rated GE78 packs some serious power. It is likely the most impressive gaming notebook I've ever reviewed, like ever. Not only does this model pack an Intel 13th gen Core i9-13980HX CPU, but it also comes with an RTX 4090 with 16GB of GDDR6 RAM and a clock speed of 2040 MHz in it too. MSI didn't skimp on any extras either. It comes with an M.2 PCIe 5.0 2TB SSD and 64GB of RAM, which clocks in at 5600 MHz. It also has the best possible battery you can get in a notebook, which is a 99 Wh cell. The display here is also a 2560 by 1600 240Hz panel with a 16:10 aspect ratio. There's no doubt that the MSI rated GE78 ticks every possible box, but on that point of the screen, I did spot a number of bleed spots on the display when it was on a dark image. It wasn't very pleasing to the eyes. The device also marks a substantial redesign for the rated GE lineup. There's RGB everywhere with the SteelSeries RGB backlight keyboard and a front RGB grille that looks mesmerizing. The back logo also lights up too. All of this is powered by a 330W power adapter. But before I get into the performance of this beast, let's chat about the design. This MSI GE78 Raider is definitely an attractive looking notebook. Given its internals and its 16:10 17-inch display, the notebook is a heavy one. It weighs 3.1 kilograms without the power adapter. It measures 380 by 298 and is 23mm thick. It is made out of a mixture of plastic and aluminium. The inner of the notebook is metal and the top of the shell is too. The bottom of the notebook and the frame around the display is plastic. Then there's this awesome looking grille thing in the middle of the notebook. At first glance you might mistake it for an air vent, but in fact it really doesn't do anything but look sexy. It is accompanied by a red strip that runs across the top of the shell. This weird vent grille thing is basically there to add some design flair to the notebook. Given that most of the ports are at the back of the device, it had to be thicker to include them, and MSI used this thicker space to its full potential. The front also features a new Matrix RGB system that looks amazing. It is created with a black plastic and has blocks etched into the inside. When the RGB is turned on, it creates this cool 3D effect and it looks pretty awesome. I also enjoyed how the plastic blends perfectly into the device when it is closed, and you won't even know there's a strip of RGB there unless it's turned on. As for the ports, the MSI rated GE78 follows the same route as the internal specs, whereas it doesn't skimp on any ports. There's a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port on the left hand side alongside an SD card slot and an audio jack combo. On the right you'll find a USB 3.2 Gen 2 port with DisplayPort and power delivery, and two USB-A ports. One is a 3.2 Gen 1 port and the other is a 3.2 Gen 2 port. On the back there's a Thunderbolt 4 port, HDMI 2.1 port and a 2.5GB Ethernet port. Internally there's Wi-Fi 802.11ax and Bluetooth 5.3. There's also a full HD webcam with Windows Hello support. Lastly, the sound includes two 2W speakers and four 2W woofers. Again, you're not going to go look for anything here because the notebook has it all. All the ports, the best wireless communication and some decent sound too. Overall, the design of the MSI rated GE78 is impressive. There are some nice finishes on the notebook to make it look super premium. The gold trim at the back is especially stylish, and the slight fin design at the back of the lid is subtle enough to make the display look as if it's curved. There's a lot of RGB here too, perhaps a bit too much for my liking, but it works. MSI has also added a translucent plastic to some of the keys you'll use more often, such as the WASD keys. When it comes to the performance on this notebook, it's pretty impressive. So much so that many of the tests I ran on this MSI rated GE78 outperformed the previous beast notebook I reviewed, the Asus ROG Strix Scar 18. Sure, the win wasn't a landslide, but this MSI notebook might truly be one of the best around. I ran a number of benchmarks across various games. I also tested out titles with and without DLSS 3. The combination of the Core i9 and the RTX 4090 delivers some exceptional performance here. All of these tests were also done on the Extreme profile, which I set on the MSI Center app. You can see from the test that this notebook definitely performs as expected. Great. However, the thermal throttling was hard to ignore. When this notebook gets hot, I saw frame rates drop as a result. Some games drop by at least 20%. When it comes to the system sound, the fans on the MSI rated GE78 HX13V were always running. Even when sitting on the desktop with nothing happening, they were spinning. But thankfully, they aren't a distraction when this happens. They range between 25 decibels and 30 decibels. When gaming and when using the extreme mode, the fan noise kicked up to almost double that. I measured 57 decibels at max during gaming loads, and 60 decibels when using the cooler boost profile. That automatically maxes the fan speed out. I do need to mention a whining sound that I encountered quite often on the notebook. Behind the fan noise, I kept having a sort of coil whine sound which was distracting. There was no way for me to get rid of it either. The thermals were also manageable. The case itself heated up to 33 degrees Celsius on average during daily use. When in gaming, it went to 45 degrees. I measured this right in the center of the notebook. Thankfully, the palm rests remain cool at around 23 degrees, so it won't get too warm while you're gaming. I found the battery life to be quite decent. You'll get 7 hours of web browsing and about 5 hours of video playback. You can increase this by decreasing the performance levels and the brightness of the display. I was very impressed with the speaker set on this notebook too. The sound output was powerful and punchy. Much better than the majority of speakers you'll find on most gaming notebooks on the market. Of course, the fans are loud, so they will get in the way here regardless of how great the speakers are. So what about the downside? Well, I did find the fans to be generally louder than other models I have tested in this price range. I also found that the performance on the notebook dropped when the unit got hot. It also got hot very quickly too. I just don't think the fans in the cooling system here can keep up with its internals, which isn't good considering that the competition can. The display is also a letdown. The lack of G-Sync and the included IPS technology means that it's an outdated panel, not something you would expect from a notebook that costs this much money. I think that is my biggest gripe with this notebook. The price and what you're getting aren't up to the same value and quality as cheaper models on the market. You can get the same specs with better displays and cooling elsewhere. I can't fathom why this notebook would cost this much and include a dated display and thermal throttling. But even with its cut corners, the MSI rated GE78 is a decent gaming notebook. I think it has a pretty stylish design and the general performance was great. So those are my thoughts on the MSI rated GE78. Are you looking to pick this notebook up? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching and please do consider liking and subscribing and visit www.glitch.online for more gaming tech news and reviews. Until next time, farewell.